Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to be your own hero. I'm a stage 4 prostate, bone, and lung cancer patient. Been dealing with cancer since late 2020, early 2021, doing exceptionally well. So happy to be here. So happy to experience every new day, including today. And I am so excited to have an incredible guest. Things are going great. Things are going really great, and I'll be able to share some things that are coming to fruition that are life changing and are it's going to totally change our lives. And I will share that with you when the time is right. But at this time, I'd like to bring on my very special guest who I think you are all gonna love. And we've been talking so much and enjoying each other's conversation. At this time, I'd like to bring on John Norred. John, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about who you are, and let's get into this.
That was first and foremost. That was an amazing introduction. I don't know if I could beat that or live up to that, but yeah, a little bit. Yes, like you said, my name's John Nord, uh, former Marine. I served in the Marine Corps for almost 2 decades. I did time as a DoD contractor and private security. Worked a lot of odd jobs in between there. Project management, coordination with construction and stuff, and then had everything. Was on top of the world. Had the wife. Had the nice house. Everything. Did not address issues I had with traumatic brain injury and PTS, post traumatic stress. Um, had a lot of issues with alcoholism and stuff like that. And basically, long story short, I wound up going through a divorce, getting a criminal case, and lost, close to $4.5 million, my entire net worth. I lost everything. Wound up incarcerated. Was in prison for quite a few years, and been paroled and been out now for 3 years, trying to get my life back together. But in that last 8 years, in a weird way, a lot of amazing things have happened. And even when the bad stuff that came in, it was still an amazing journey. And being here today is just an absolute honor. I'm also a colon cancer survivor, so which I guess that's how we would put it.
So let's talk about your cancer experience. How did that happen, and what was your mindset when you got that diagnosis?
Oh, I tell you, it's funny and unique because again, like we were talking about earlier, is in my career, I never really had this. I thought I was invincible. I was an elite warrior, an elite athlete, and I thought for so many years, that I'm invincible. The honest truth is, I how I walked out of Afghanistan and Iraq is nothing short of a miracle, and in Syria and some other places. But I didn't care back then. I didn't have this lust for life. Um, it was I had actually had some attempts and some troubles with suicide ideations and stuff like that. And it's amazing just how things work, and you fast forward now, and I get out of prison. Of course I'm happy. I got this, I've came up this out of this black hole, and my life is changing, and things are going for the better, and I'm addressing my TBI and my PTS, and I'm building relationships that I didn't have before, and all these wonderful things. I'm starting my own company, doing the entrepreneur thing, and I'm having these issues, some health issues, and I guess it was time for my colonoscopy, and some things in my blood were alarming to the doctors. And then when they did the colonoscopy, they found some polyps and some things they didn't like seeing. Shortly thereafter, I was actually called into the doctor's office, and on the screen on the desk, he brought this lady and said she was an oncologist, and I knew right off the bat. And I remember sitting there, and my explanative aside, my first word that came through my head was a very vulgar term, and my mouth went dry. I started to sweat, and I got dizzy, and I'm like, don't say it, don't say it, don't tell me this, this isn't happening. And he says, Mr. Nord, you have cancer. We know it's stage 1, possibly stage 2 colon cancer. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And I've been a an ultra marathoner, a marathoner, and an athlete my whole life. I've always ate good, and I'm just like, no, I'm not accepting this. I'm not accepting this, and I'm like, of all times now, I got so much to do and so many things I want to do, and I want to live, and I care about life. I care about people. I want to help my veterans, and I'm like, why now? And then 3/10 of a second later, I said, you know what? F you. I'm gonna live. Iraq, Syria, all these Afghanistan, they didn't kill me. Cancer, you ain't got a chance. I'm gonna take you down. And I wasn't gonna stop running no matter, when they mentioned chemo, and she's like, well, you're gonna be really sick. You're gonna feel that. I don't care. I'm running. I'm gonna run every day. I'm gonna hit the weights. I'm gonna work. I'm going to put a smile on my face even when I'm not feeling all that great. And my first thought was, I'm not telling anybody. I just told the ones closest to me because I did not want that sympathy card. And I was like, no matter what it takes, I will find a way and I will beat this bastard one way or another. And yeah, and I walked out of that office. I went from sheer terror to walking out to my truck with a smile on my face, going, I got this. I can do this.
I
I'm going to
love that.
win.
I love that.
So
That
that's my
is
story.
that is that is awesome. I love to hear people who have that attitude because it's that kind of attitude that brings you out the back end. I mean, when you believe resolutely that you are going to live, that makes all the difference in the world. And with all of your worldly experiences, having lost a lot of money and being in prison and being in the Middle East fighting wars. I mean, what an incredible uh, story of perseverance of just coming out, you know, a new man. And my hat's off to you. I thank you so much for your service and what you do, and thank you so much for what you're doing now. I think it's even more important.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. And part of the things that I would have to give, what changed was, it was a long journey that led up to it, but a lot of the skills and the tools that I learned from living and understanding traumatic brain injury, living and understanding with PTS. I don't like to say PTSD, I'd say PTS. It's not a disorder. But living with that and coming to terms with that in a lot of ways did help me with this journey through cancer. And part of that was, for the long time, I had survivor's guilt. There was multiple incidents downrange where I lost a lot of friends. I went to way too many funerals, and when we came home, we lost a lot of guys to suicide. And I almost became one of the stats, one of the numbers. But something clicked in me to where, when I was on this journey, learning about how to deal and live with PTS and live a better life, and not be that angry, disgruntled grunt, veteran, was they are no longer in pain. They're no longer here. They're in paradise. Why am I making myself suffer? And I am doing them a disservice by not living to the fullest potential, by not living life, by not being happy. Now, fast forward to when I got the diagnosis with cancer, that was a part of that fight too, because I'm like, I'm not going out like this. I owe it to these guys that were, to me, these are my heroes. People always ask you, who's your hero? And, Superman, Batman. Me, it's the guys, the men and women I serve with downrange, the people to my left and my right. These are my heroes. The ones that made it back, the ones that didn't make it back, especially the ones that didn't make it back. And I'm like, I owe it to them to beat this, because how am I going to get back to my veterans community? How am I going to get back to people in my other communities? How am I going to help people? And how am I going to get the word of God out there? He gave me this task, and I know he's not telling me, hey, this is the end of it. He's telling me, yeah, you have a start date and an end date, but you got the time in between. I want you to live it. And I want you to get the word out there. No matter what I throw at you, I want you to be successful. And I owe it to him. I owe it to the people that are no longer here to live that fullest life. And it's like I said, that came all at 1/10 of a second, to where you're not taking me out of the equation. I'm going to prove that cancer can get his butt kicked. I'm in remission, and again, there's always that percentage. I get it, but I'm ready for a fight. And I've done MMA, and I've been down to war. I know how to fight. I'm ready for cancer.
Man, I love that. Absolutely love that. I mean, to hear you say those things after I mean, that's been my attitude from day one. And it's so rare to hear that when I do hear it, it just it just makes my day. Absolutely makes my day. So I just love your story. And in fact, we, we need to bring you back for a second round of interviews. I mean, because there's so much that we need to talk about, because you have so many life stories that people could learn from, because you've been uh, you know, uh, where many people are today. And with your stories and your advice and your inspiration, we can help these people, so many people, overcome these things, because it can be dealt with, if they get the right help. And you're doing a great thing by helping your fellow veterans and all the things that you do. So I really appreciate your efforts and your story. And man, it's just awesome, really awesome. And go ahead, John.
I'm the one sitting here going, I'm beyond honored and blessed to meet you and to be on this platform, and like I said, I still, I have that in the back of my head where I'm like, oh my God, I only, I have a hard time calling myself a cancer survivor and all this. Cause I'm like, I had like a little bout of it. And being at the oncology office and being there, when I was getting my treatments, and there's people that, were just going through some of the most horrific stuff. But what I found was amazing was the people that were taking it the best and doing it well. They still had their sense of humor. There was another veteran served in Iraq and Afghanistan the same time frame I did. He had stage 4, and he's laughing and he's telling jokes and he's I got a little choked up. It's just his outlook, and it's people like that I just started to surround myself with. I wanted to be around the people that had that thrive. And I've met so many people in both the running community, marathon and ultra marathon community, that have that same mindset and are survivors. And like one of the things I recognize right off the bat, you and I both like to run. We've done marathons and so on and so forth. And I've been running for a long time, and that's just that running to me was my go-to for a lot of things, and not just recently with the cancer, but also with traumatic brain injury and PTSD and all that PTS. But more so with cancer, because I was like, I'm going to run you to the ground. I don't run fast, but I'll run all day, all night.
I've got to introduce you to a friend of mine. Did Melody tell you about Boyd Dunleavy?
No, no, she did not.
Okay, Boyd Dunleavy, he's one of my moderators on our Cancer Conquering community on Clubhouse on Thursdays. And he's a marathon runner, and
Nice.
he is a stem cell transplant survivor, uh, which
Wow.
is unbelievable. He did it back in, I think, 2012. And I would love for you two to meet, because you would get along great.
Yeah, I met in this journey. I've kept my diagnosis and my treatment quiet from a lot of people, and only recently have been opening up about it. And I think there's a lot of power and strength in that. Like anything else, you have a story, you should tell it and you should share it. And it's terrifying, but it's the same thing with being vulnerable and being authentic and truthful, and showing people, hey, these are my ugly skeletons from my past, with the military, my struggles with PTS and stuff. But the cancer thing, it was, I guess you would say, what hit me different with this one was, for the first time in my life, I wanted to live more than anything on the planet. I had things I wanted to do. There was so many things I had. I had more questions than I had answers, but I knew no matter what, I have got to get through this. And I didn't want to listen to negative people. I didn't want to pay attention to God knows all the garbage that was on the internet. I kept my world and my focus very small. And every day I would get out there and grind it. I didn't care how sick I was. After a day of treatment, I'm going for a run. It might only be 3, 4 miles and the worst PR ever, but I'm going to go. I'm going to run.
I am
So
so impressed with that. I mean, I wasn't even able to run around the block. I still to this day, I cannot run really. I mean, I could walk fast, but uh, when I get relocated, I'm going to be able to attempt that. But I'm, everything's in steps, absolutely, and everything's about progress and getting better. And when I was at my weakest, I wanted to make sure that every day I tried to do more than I did yesterday. And I could barely walk. In fact, I had a hard time walking across a room. It took me 10 minutes to walk across the room, but I kept doing it even though it hurt uh, uh, like, nobody's business. It was not
Yeah.
fun, but I knew that I had to keep doing it in order to get better, and I had to keep walking up and down those stairs to go down to the kitchen, and I wanted to do that as much as I can, even though every time it took me like 10 or 15 minutes to walk down the stairs because I was just afraid of taking a header. But it's all about being better today than you were yesterday and being better tomorrow than you were today.
Yes, yes, in every aspect. And again, you have to have that mentality. And like I said, a lot of people ask me questions all the time about, well, how do you, run so far? Why do you? Or the one they always ask me is, why do you run? And I'm like, why do you breathe? I need it like you need air, And when it comes to that running, I tell them it's very simplistic. Left foot, right foot. That's it. That's what's going through my head. Left foot, right foot. One more step. One more 10 more feet, 10 more yards. I'm going to make it to the next light, the next intersection, 10 more miles, So I'm going every mile, I break it down. And, like when somebody says, well, how do you run 100 miles? I said, easy. I just put it in my mindset. It's just 2 marathons. I got this. And you put it in simpler terms. I KISS rule it. Keep it simple, stupid. That's what we call it in the military. And I broke it down to that level. And that's the same thing I did with the whole idea with cancer. Is like, I had so many damn questions. I had no way of what I was doing or how I was going to fit, how this journey was going to finish. But I had to put back in my mindset that, the same thing happened when I was, in a cold, dark prison cell trying to figure out how am I going to get my life back together? How am I going to get help for TBI and PTS? What am I going to do? Am I going to sit here and just, wallow away, or am I going to man up and get to work? And one of the books I read, I have to give him credit, is David Goggins. I read his book, Can't Hurt Me, and I resonated with him because of the military background and everything. And I'm like, yeah, he's right. Crush souls, take it. And I'm like, I'm gonna crush cancer's soul. I'm gonna take it. And I didn't have all the answers. And some days it was just, I knew that it was probably more detrimental, but I didn't care. I'm gonna get out there and run, and I'm just gonna put one foot in front of the other, and I'm just gonna see, can I run a mile? Can I run 3 miles? Can I run 4 miles? Can I run 5 miles? And I'm just going to keep going. And before this diagnosis, I was running 6 to 8 a day. My long runs were 10 to 15 plus on my what we call LSD, long slow distance days. And I went from that to barely making it 3-4 miles and almost taking 45 minutes to an hour. And I'm like, this is not, I'm going to beat you. Now you're pissing me off. So
So let me ask you this. Okay, you've you've had money, you've lost money,
yeah.
you've been in prison, you've been in the Middle East fighting a war, you've been in prison, you've had all these experiences. Which one was the most difficult, and how has all of those combined experiences helped you with who you are today?
Well, the most difficult out of all of that was coming to terms with the fact that I had suffered a massive amount of trauma and I wasn't as tough as I thought I was. And the traumatic brain injury and the PTS, that was coming to that, ahead with that, and facing that head on and facing my fears and demons head on. That was the toughest moment. And I knew that if I got through that hurdle, and I learned hard lessons though. There was a lot of things I learned where, I had to get myself right with the Lord. That was the big one. The other part of that was that you cannot do this alone. And these were lessons and tools that I put in my toolbox that have worked all the way up to this point. And I would not say in any way, shape, or form that, the diagnosis and getting cancer, it sucked and I didn't want it. And I again, but had I not had this hard journey, had I not, survived war, had I not, survived a horrible divorce, losing a lot of money, being incarcerated for not handling issues of anger and alcoholism and stuff like that. Had I not had that journey, I would have had a completely different mindset when it came to take cancer on, because I would have been in that same old mindset. I would have been like, yeah, hey, let's do it, man. I'm gonna drink a lot. I'm gonna eat a lot. I'm gonna enjoy myself. If it's gonna kill me, great. It'll be just one less chance I got to worry about. But now it's like, no. All of that brought me to a certain point. It brought me here. I have a reason. I have a mission. I have worth, and I am not going to allow this to beat me. And again, I had more questions than answers. I had no idea how I was going to do this, but I was like, I'm going to stick with my faith. I'm going to stick with what I know it works. I'm going to stay positive, and I'm just going to put my left foot in front of my right foot, and I'm going to keep going until I get on the other end of this, because I'm going to beat it. There was no doubt in my mind that no matter what, I'm going to live. I'm going to beat this. I'm not going out like this. Not
Man,
happening. Not on my watch.
I love that. I
So,
absolutely love that. And thank you so much for your honesty and for sharing that, because you're going to help somebody uh out there, because they're going to hear that and they're going to say, if he could do it, I could do it. And that's what this is all about, is
you know,
to uh, light that match in that person so that they could see the light, so that they could, you know, uh, see that there is hope, because there's always hope. Absolutely.
yes. And you got to take a. I have a. Those of us in the military, especially the background I come from, we have a very dark sense of humor, so to speak. And it's one of those things. When one of the sayings we had is, when death looks at you and smiles, look back and smile back. And that was just that warrior mindset. But a sense of humor.
I've never heard that. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
When death looks at you and smiles, you look right them dead in the eye and you smile back.
Oh man, that is
And
great.
I had this thing where, a sense of humor, even if it's dark or light footed or sarcastic. I'm very sarcastic, but, that sense of humor is, you have to do it. It's one of those things where it's elective. And I refuse to be miserable. Even when I'm miserable, I'm going to find something to make me laugh, or I'm going to make an ass out of myself. I remember sitting on the I-15, and it's a parking lot, and people are losing their minds, and I got the music going, and I'm dancing so much in the cab. I look over, this lady's videotaping me, and I'm just dancing away on my truck, and, and I look at her and I'm like, oh, you know, but you got to have that sense of humor. And I think the other part of it was just, you know, I wasn't, not only was I not wanting to go out like that, and having that sense of humor and having that lust for life, was just, taking it day by day. And you're going to have bad days, you're going to have bad thoughts, but you just you have to push those out. You got to keep, and I know it sounds so cliche, but you do have to stay positive, and you do have to surround yourself with those kind of people. Even if it's, like, I had family members that were just like, I love them to death. I do. But the advice they gave me, especially when it comes to cancer, all bad. I wasn't, that was not going to be working for me. That's not going to work.
I get it. I get
So,
it. And
yeah,
one of the difficult things is, when you're diagnosed with cancer, is you're going to hear it from all different sides, and everybody's an expert, everybody has a cure, everybody has the right answer, and that's part of the difficult situation, is who to believe. And
true. But again, if you laugh at it, like, I remember being on a run and going to the gym, and there's this youngster. He's in there, mid-20s, and he wanted to work out with me, and I smoked him. And I looked at him and I said, I'm 50, about to be 51. I also have cancer. I had treatment last week, and you just got smoked. And he looked at me. He didn't know what to say. I was like, you just got smoked by a 50-year-old man with cancer. Put that in perspective.
I
And the
bet you
look on his face.
I bet you made his day.
I could tell you, the last couple of times I seen him at the gym, he's lost a lot of weight. And he's like, like I said, even if my story doesn't resonate, or if I could just get someone to, if I could help one person, and they help somebody, and they help somebody, and they help somebody, I really do believe in my heart that this cancer is a shitty journey We don't want to do it alone. You gotta face it though. Don't hide in a hole. Don't go back to old habits. Be healthy, spiritually, mentally, physically, and surround yourself by people that care and are going to do that for you. And don't always listen to all the crap on that big pharma is trying to sell you, or that the internet's trying to sell you, and all these crazy things out there. Go with the people, like you said best. Go with the people who've been through this journey. I mean, I've found people recently that have been fighting cancer for 20 years, and you hear their story and you hear the thing, and they all have the same thing that you and I have in common. I am not going out like this. This is not going to beat me. This is not going to define me. And I'm going to win. Regardless, I'm going to win.
Man, I just love the message. We're going to wrap it up here. So, what would be your final thought that you would like to share with everybody, John?
Don't quit. Don't quit. Never, ever, ever quit. You have worth. You are loved. You are blessed. Prove it. Don't quit.
Wow. I absolutely loved it. And I wouldn't expect anything less from you. And so, I mean, we're going to bring you back again, as long as you're up to it, and have round two. But I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate the conversation and the incredible message that you have for everybody. And I think you are going to help a lot of people along the way. So keep it up, and we're definitely going to bring you back. And I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here at To Be Your Own Hero. Please subscribe to the channel, To Be Your Own Hero. Make a comment in the comment section. There's been a lot of great comments lately, so keep them coming. Tap the notification bell. And you know this world we live in is insane, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. And so what we need is to help our fellow man as often as we can, because you don't know what that next person is going through. You don't know what's going on in that person's day, or that person's life. And if you could just add something positive, say hello, or offer them some help, even if it's small. Do something every single day, and then it starts building, and then other people catch on, and that's how we're going to help make this world a better place, and help make this world the place we want to have it. And it's going to take effort from all of us, in order for all of this to happen. And so I'd like to thank everyone again, once again, for joining us at the Be Your Own Hero, and make the most out of every single day, every single hour, every single minute, and every single breath. Have a fantastic week, and we will see you next. Oh, I forgot one thing. I want to share a couple of quotes like I always do. And I almost forgot about that. And the first one is from Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, and says, image your goal. Hold that image in consciousness. Keep that image always before you, and your goal will materialize. And the second quote is, when most people say they are being realistic, they delude themselves. They are simply being negative. And frankly, we don't have time for that. Thank you once again for joining us here at To Be Your Own Hero, and we will see you next time on